Ladies and gentlemen. Story number 1. My wife ran away immediately. I told her I wanted a divorce just so she could stay married to me. I have never hated living in North Carolina like I do now. The laws that guide divorce are making it extremely difficult for me to get out of this marriage. My wife, who is addicted to alcohol, has just been unfaithful to me. I want our marriage to end. The problem is that even if I file for divorce now, I'll have to stay married to her for up to another year while we live separately. She knows this, and that's why she's confident that I'll never try to divorce her. It's her ego and self-confidence that's stopping me. I'm more determined than ever to divorce her as soon as possible. I can't stand the thought of giving her the upper hand in this situation. I'm ready to show her that I'm more than ready to divorce her immediately. My name is Mason, I'm 31 years old, and I'm a 31-year-old artist from Asheville, North Carolina. I also make and trade NFTs. I'm married to Ava, who is 31. I'm an artist from North Carolina too. My wife and I met at an art exhibition 5 years ago, and that's how we got together. I'll be completely honest with you guys, I'm finding it hard to tell this story. It's the first time I've done something like this. I have to do this to stay sane. I've been meaning to share my story with someone, but as a man, there are certain things you're not expected to talk about. It's easier to open up to strangers who don't know you and can't judge. You might then share this with friends or colleagues who would never look at you the same way. I can't control how others see me, but I can share my story. Ava cheated on me 2 weeks ago, and everything has gone downhill since then. I got back from work early and found used protection in the waste bin. She had slept off on the couch after drinking too much alcohol. Ava is an alcoholic, but I didn't know until the second year of our marriage. We got married 4 years ago and have been together for 6. 2 years ago, after we left the art exhibition she organized, I caught her drinking in the toilet. I know it sounds gross, and trust me, I was grossed out too. I asked her why she was doing that, and she said the stress from planning her art exhibition and making the art pieces perfect had taken a toll on her. I didn't like the idea that she was stress drinking, but I understood her plight since I'm an artist too and I'm aware of how the tension can get to you. I told her there was nothing wrong with feeling stressed and that she didn't need to drink in the toilet or hide from me. I was very surprised that day because even though we went to clubs, Ava never drank alcohol. She always told me that she hated it. Well, I later discovered that she had an alcohol problem before we met and had gone to rehab. That's why she abstained when we met up to 2 years into our marriage before she got back to her addiction. Ava drank occasionally after that, but it was never serious. However, it got worse 1 year ago, and I tried to help her. I tried to take her back to rehab, but she refused. I didn't want to be the coward who left his wife at the most traumatic moment in her life, so I tried my best to help her. I swore never to give up on helping her, but now I've realized that she took my generosity for kindness and now she's cheating on me. I've been patient with Ava on many things, but I don't understand why she would ever think of cheating on me. It's because of her alcohol problem that we decided not to try getting pregnant until she goes to rehab. That day when I got back from work and found after drinking, she collapsed on the couch. I didn't expect to see used protection in the way. I was 100% sure that I wasn't the one that used the protection. Most times after coming back from work, Ava was drunk or had a hangover. I couldn't sleep with her in that kind of state, so we haven't been together romantically for almost 2 months. That's why seeing the used protection in the waste bin only meant she was cheating on me. I was very angry and I am still very angry. I didn't mind tolerating all her flaws before because I knew I'm not perfect either, and marriage is about tolerating each other and accepting each other's flaws. But cheating is a flaw that I will never be willing to accept. I've been through a lot with Ava, and I've stood by her through thick and thin. That shows how messed up people can be. How far do you have to go before you get the respect you deserve? That night, Ava was still drunk, so I waited for her to get up in the morning. I wasted no time before I confronted her and demanded Ava didn't believe me. She said the protection I'd seen in the waste bin was the one we'd used more than 2 months ago. I couldn't believe she was lying. I told her to tell me the truth. She didn't, so I went outside and asked our gatekeeper, Luke, to find out what happened. He used to work for my parents before they moved to California, so he's basically my family friend. I knew I could trust him. I asked him to be honest with me, and he was. He told me that a particular man had come to see Ava twice within the range of 3 days. I asked him if that same man came the day before, which was the day I found the protection in the waste bin. Luke said that the same man had visited the day before. I thanked him and left the house immediately. I drove around the city for the first 30 minutes, just to cool my temper. I finally stopped at a gym, where I transferred all my aggression to the punching bag. I was very angry and didn't want to have a conversation with Ava in that state because I didn't trust what I might have done when I got back to the house. I'd already made up my mind. I wanted a divorce from Ava immediately. When I got to the house, she was busy having lunch like nothing had happened. I didn't waste any time. I told her we needed a divorce immediately and that I could not forgive the fact. She cheated on me at first. She tried to say she'd been drunk, but when she saw that I wasn't willing to change my mind, she showed her true colors. I didn't even recognize Ava. I'd seen her in some of the worst phases of her life. But I'd never seen her act like that. She talked like a selfish person and acted nonchalant about cheating on me. She said that I stopped getting intimate with her, so she cheated. I had to do a double take and make sure I heard her twice. I didn't touch her because she said it was for her own good. She was drunk every night, for goodness sake. And excuse me, but no one wants to get intimate with someone who could throw up at any time. She accused me of neglecting her and using that as an excuse for cheating. That gave me all the affirmation I needed. I needed to run from the marriage. I didn't even give her the chance to walk out of the marriage. I made it clear to her that I was going to file for divorce, and I gave her 2 days to leave the house. I thought I'd been through the biggest shock and betrayal of my life, and I honestly believed that there was nothing I could do. After what Ava did, I thought anyone could hurt me. But I guess you have to tell God your plans and watch him laugh. Ava did the worst thing possible. The next day, I've never hated anyone this much. After what she did, I don't think I can ever stand her presence. The next morning, Ava was making breakfast. She'd slept in the living room while I'd slept in my room. I didn't leave my room for her, that's never going to happen. Ava didn't offer me breakfast, and I didn't care to ask. I planned on eating at a restaurant before going to I left for work after getting ready. Ava and I didn't speak or even greet each other. Even now, I don't know what she wore that morning because I couldn't stand her presence or bring myself to look at her in the face after I got back from work that day. I realized that I'd been living with a woman who was always scheming and conniving for over 4 years. Ava was nowhere to be found in the house and all her things were gone. Her closet was practically empty and not even a pair of shoes that belonged to her was left. Ava had left the house that day. I know you're all thinking there's nothing wrong with that and I should be happy she left before the deadline. I did think so too and didn't think there was any need for alarm. That was until the very next day and the day after that and 5 days later. I kept trying to reach out to her but she never picked up. I had no idea where she was. The reason it was so important to see her is because we were still married and I needed to file for divorce after days of trying. I decided to go ask her best friend where she was. I had to work pretty hard to get her best friend to admit that Ava had left North Carolina. I'm not making this up. I was pretty shocked and taken aback. It was a pretty strange and unsettling thing to find out. Her best friend wouldn't tell me where she'd gone, and Ava wouldn't respond to any of her messages. I didn't hear from her for days. I was really worried because I knew what she was trying to do. She had to be present to sign the papers when I eventually brought them to her. I was tired of keeping everything to myself, so I decided to go speak to my lawyer. I told him everything that had transpired, and that was when I got even more angry. Ava had planned everything from the beginning. She didn't just live there because she wanted to, she left because she knew the rules for getting a divorce in North Carolina. Ava wants to keep the marriage going, so she ran away. My lawyer told me that one of the rules for getting divorced in North Carolina clearly states that one of the couples must have lived in North Carolina for 6 months before filing for divorce. I'd gone on a trip 3 months before I discovered Ava was cheating on me. That meant that none of us had lived in North Carolina for 6 months straight. I hadn't even filed for divorce yet. There's also another rule that states we both have to live separately for a whole year before filing for an absolute divorce. I can't stand staying married to Ava for 1 more year. I just can't do it. The thought alone makes me angry. The fact that Ava was aware of all this yet she decided to run away just proved that she is an excuse for a woman. My lawyer advised me to try my best to get her back in North Carolina so that we would only have to wait for a year before the divorce gets finalized if I wanted to wait that long. Ava needs to come back immediately, or else everything will be for nothing. She was trying to drag it out, which is why she left. We also have a joint account, which meant she could still spend my money. There was nothing I could do about it. The divorce in North Carolina doesn't need one partner to prove why they need it. The other partner could try to drag it out. Ava knows exactly what she's doing. She was trying to make sure I didn't get a divorce. I took everything she did as a reason to be more ruthless and make sure I've got the divorce, but if only she knew that she's making me more determined, she would come back immediately. As it is, she's still somewhere unknown. I cannot get a hold of her and not even her best friend is ready to reveal her location. I'm very impatient. I'm not prepared to play fair at all. I'll do whatever it takes to get a divorce from Ava. She cheated and now she's playing the victim and trying to hold the upper hand in the marriage. Maybe she thinks I'll be patient with her just like she was patient with me. Alcohol addiction. I was just trying to honor the vows I made, but now she's broken hers first. I'm more than ready to break my vows and do whatever it takes to teach her a lesson. I've decided to start with her best friend. Her name is Francia, and she has been at the house a couple of times. I've been to the house a couple of times. I know she's the only one who knows where Ava is, so I'm going to get the truth out of her. I don't care how I do it or if she tries to ask for something else. I know Francia fancies me, even though she's trying to be respectful. Given that I don't care for Ava anymore, I think a little scandal wouldn't hurt. I'm going to figure something out, so I'll update you all soon. I've got another update for you today. Brace yourselves, because it's about to get really messy. Broken vows and broken friendships are. It's a tricky situation. I didn't ask to be in the middle of a broken friendship. I guess the drama found me. I had to do what I had to do. I know you're wondering what friendship I've broken. It's the friendship. I did something I regret, but I don't regret it. Ava deserves everything she's getting, and it's a shame I've only just started. How do I say this without sounding like I'm being evil? Well, I'll just say it as it is. I decided to go to Francia. I asked her again for Ava's location. I didn't have a plan in mind. I was just determined to get to the truth. Francia spent minutes telling me how difficult what I was asking was. She made it clear that Ava warned her not to reveal her whereabouts. I listened. Listened to her, but I didn't leave. I told her I wasn't going to leave until she told me the truth. It was pretty stressful, and Francia was initially pretty stubborn, but after another hour of back and forth, she agreed to tell me where Ava ran off to. The catch was that I had to go on a date with her. If you're shocked, I was even more shocked. I used to think that Francia was shy around me and would often blush, but I never really thought it was anything serious. In the last update, I said that she fancied me, but that was just me trying to be cocky. I never really thought it would get as far as it did. I really thought it would get as far as it did, but I guess things are unpredictable. I was desperate to know where Ava ran off to, and I also didn't mind entertaining Francia if it would give Ava a taste of her own medicine. If not for legalities, my marriage was practically over. I wasn't ready. I decided to play fair and let Ava play dirty. She's the one who thinks I'll never get a divorce from her. Well, she has another thing coming. So I went on a date with Francia. After that, we went on another date. In fact, she told me. I was curious about where Ava ran off to on our first date. I could have ended things then, but I wanted to see where things were headed. We spent nights together, and she started calling me a lot. I was surprised to see that she had no problem doing that to her own best friend. I was pleased to discover that Ava had gone to stay with one of her aunts in Florida. I wasn't ready to go looking for her, that wasn't the plan. I just wanted to know how far away she was so I could make sure she ran as fast as she could and got the next flight. I decided to take a flight to North Carolina, even though she wasn't picking up my calls and had blocked my phone number. I knew there was a way I could make it work. Social media is a very powerful tool, and I feel like I'm a bit of a fool for only just realizing that now. I had Ava as a friend on Facebook, but I didn't plan to message her directly. Instead, I posted pictures of me and Francia together. I'm sure you can imagine how romantic they were. If I didn't know the dynamic, I would have believed that we were a real couple. After posting the pictures, I had no way of knowing if Ava saw them. It wasn't a Facebook story, so I wanted something that would last longer than 24 hours. I wanted her to be able to see it even when she wasn't online. Days went by and I really thought I'd wasted my time. I hadn't heard from Ava, even after making that post, and I was about to start making other plans when my gatekeeper rushed into the house and told me Ava was at the gate and wanted to see me. That was when I knew she had seen the message. She rushed back as soon as she could so she could find out exactly what it said. She's been going behind my back. I asked the gatekeeper not to let her in. I didn't want to see her or have a conversation with her. I need to get a divorce, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'd already filed for a divorce when she came back. My lawyer said we just had to live separately for a year before we could get an absolute divorce. Ava didn't know I'd filed for divorce, but I think it's important to let her know. Otherwise, all my efforts would be in vain. I went to see Francia at her house. I don't know what my relationship with Francia will be like yet, but she seems nice and has a good vibe. I'm not sure if I want to be in a serious relationship with her, though. I'm not worried about Ava's involvement in any of this. I'm just taking my time to get to know Francia and see if she's someone I'm interested in dating officially at the moment. I'll just say we're having fun. I don't know if Ava followed me or if she just happened to get to Francia's house at the same time as me. Anyway, we got there at the same time and she tried as I was walking up to the house. Ava came up to me and kissed me on the lips. I didn't mind, but I ignored her and went into the house. Francia didn't know Ava was there because I didn't tell her. Ava then walked in and started making a scene. I'm still smiling in triumph. The look on her face was priceless. First of all, she looked like she needed a huge bath. It was obvious that she'd been stress drinking again. But for the first time ever, I didn't care about any of that. I was done caring for her. And I'm still done caring. For her, I thought. Where did caring for her get me? She cheated and then tried to trap me in the marriage. She's practically like a stranger I never met and I plan on things being that way forever. Ava tried to get her hands on Francia and she actually scratched her face with her nails, but I didn't. I didn't want to get anywhere near her, but I held her back and left some space between us. I noticed that Francia tried hiding behind me. Maybe she felt guilty about what she'd done, but it was none of my business. Just like Ava, she was trying to make me look bad. I was busy on my phone trying to call security when I heard Ava accusing me of cheating. I was pretty shocked, to be honest. It was her audacity that got to me. After all, she'd single-handedly invited men into my house and deceived us both. She basically invited men into my house and messed up our marriage in the living room. Before that day, I used to wonder why our marriage had to end up in shambles. But that day, I was really grateful to Ava for cheating on me. If she hadn't cheated, I'd never have known how bad she was. I'm glad. I was lucky to get out of that marriage with my life intact. If I'd spent time trying to take care of a woman who couldn't control her alcohol and made poor choices, my whole life could have been ruined. She never told me about her alcohol problem while we were dating. In fact, she didn't even drink alcohol at all. She even lied about hating alcohol. She practically tricked me into marrying her in the first place. Why couldn't she just say she went to rehab? No, she decided to be deceitful. But even after I found out the truth 2 years after our marriage, I'd been ready to forgive her and try to help her stop her addiction. I waited so long to have a child because I knew she couldn't carry a child while she still found it hard to control her alcohol. But she chose to repay me for my patience by cheating on me. I made it clear to Ava that I owed her no explanation. I refused to listen to her unnecessary speeches and made it known I told her I'd already filed for divorce. Ava was surprised. She thought I was going to stick with her forever. Well, she definitely got a shock that day because I made sure I told her that the divorce was happening, whether she liked it or not. Ava grabbed my collar and tried to throw herself at me. It was a very abnormal action, and I had to control myself or else I would have made the mistake of pushing her away. I didn't trust where she would have landed. She looked frail and weak, and it was obvious that she'd been wasting her time drinking again. If I'd pushed her, I might have ended up being labeled an abuser, so I just grabbed her hands and took them off my collar. Ava didn't want to let me go, she kept calling. She called me names and accused me of making her life miserable. I don't know if she was aiming for emotional abuse, but none of it really worked on me. I'd made up my mind to cut all ties with her, and I did so with a big smile on my face. Her confidence that I'd never be able to divorce her had faded away, and she had to face reality a lot quicker than she thought she would have to. I know she felt like a fool for thinking she could tie me down to the marriage. She didn't expect how events would turn out. I guess we both got the shock of our lives at the end of the day. Ava was acting like she was going to go crazy right at that moment. Francia was scared and I grabbed her hand. I knew that Ava was just trying to act out so that I'd believe she was really hurt and try to take back my words. Unfortunately for her, I didn't care about her drama at all. I grabbed her hand and dragged her out of Francia's house. There wasn't a gatekeeper because it was a joint. The estate only had one gate, and Francia's house was quite far from the main gate. I told her she had to be careful because Ava could show up at any time. I also told her to call the estate security if she needed help. That was all I did before I left her house that day. I had to go see my lawyer. I also had to meet with my lawyer to discuss our next steps as an artist. I still have a lot of work to do. I don't work for anyone since I have my own studio, but I have people working for me and we have clients. I also have an art exhibition coming up in 6 months, so I have to prepare for that. I sell NFTs too, and I've been obsessed with this for a very long time. I spent so much time trying to get out of my marriage with Francia that I forgot how important my work is to me. I still need to make money, so I've decided to focus on work and update you guys only when the divorce is finalized. I've finalized things with Franny, but we still keep in touch and meet up now and then. I've also been seeing another girl, who I had coffee with once. I really think I'm spread pretty thin at the moment. To be honest, I don't see anything wrong with that. After 4 years of staying married to someone like Ava, I think it's okay to have other options. I'm just saying I'm taking my time when it comes to dating. I'm not saying that Francia isn't a good choice. I just don't think I want to rush into a relationship with someone who's friends with Francia. They say birds of a feather flock together, and I guess I'm not ready to meet the same birds twice. Well, I'll see. I'll keep you posted on how things go, but in the meantime, I'll give you an update on my divorce from the witch. Take a deep breath, guys, and brace yourselves for this update. It's been an interesting journey, even though it was a significant life change. I've had to adjust to a lot of things, but after 1 year and 6 months I'm in a better place. That's why I've decided to make an update to this post. I now believe that the world is a place where one learns and grows at the same time. I did get a divorce, but it was a pretty tough time, to be honest. I'll say this with confidence, this divorce has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't difficult because I found it hard to separate from Ava. No, it was difficult because I had to stay. I was married to her for a year after everything. Every day for that full year I woke up angry and furious, but I had to be patient and follow the rules of North Carolina. At the end of the day, my patience was worth it, and I'm now a free man. Ava got the shock of her life on the last day our divorce was fully finalized. Even after a full year, she had been in denial and thought that the divorce wasn't going to happen. Unfortunately for her, reality ended up hitting her with a very loud bang. She tried everything to make it not happen. All my efforts were in vain when I saw her on that last day. I knew she was miserable, and even now I still get calls from people saying she is worse off, but none of that concerns me because I'm not the one who made the choices for her. I wasted 4 years of my life trying to make her a better person. But she threw all that away and cheated. Now she's going through the toughest phase in her life, and I've turned a blind eye to everything. I'm even happier than I was before I got her back in more ways than one. Her best friend betrayed her and made a move on me. I got a divorce and she's broke. I know you all already know everything that happened in the last 2 updates, so I'll just tell you how Ava tried to make sure the divorce didn't happen. She tried to sabotage it again, as I mentioned in the last update. I had an art exhibition coming up, which took months to prepare. The day came, 1 year ago, when I only had 6 months before the divorce was finalized. I'd blocked Ava's number and stopped the gatekeeper from letting her into my house, so I didn't see her for those full 6 months. But Ava suddenly showed up at my art exhibition. She tried to cause a scene. I'd worked for that day for 6 whole months and I'd had sleepless nights to make sure everything was perfect. I knew that there was no way I was going to let Ava ruin it. Even when she showed up, I told the security to stop her from coming in and instructed them to drag her out. After that, I didn't see her for almost an hour and I believed that she'd gotten tired and eventually left. Unfortunately for me, I'd gotten too relaxed. I'd forgotten all about her. I didn't know she was going to show up again if the security got relaxed and didn't realize she'd sneaked in. There was a lot of drama. I can still vividly remember how furious I was. She tried causing a scene and throwing a fit, so I threatened to call the police and have her arrested. She left after some of our mutual friends spoke to her. I didn't really care after that because I was able to use that incident to my advantage in court. It wasn't as messy as I thought it would be. Maybe that's because on the last day of our divorce, I suddenly realized that she was fighting a lost battle. I'd been at my happiest in a long time, just the thought of being free made me very happy. I was even more happy that I didn't have to see her face ever again. That day was a very big deal for me and it was one of the reasons I dressed my best. I didn't need Ava to tell me before I knew how defeated she was. She looked like she found it hard to accept the truth, but I didn't really care. It just felt good to know that I was going through it alone and I've decided I'm never going to put myself in that situation again. I got back at her in the best way possible and that full year of waiting was actually worth it, even though it was a frustrating year after the divorce. I decided to take time off work and just live life as it comes for a while. I stopped seeing Francia because I don't want to commit to any relationship yet. I want to enjoy my single life. In this single life, I've been doing whatever I like. Francia tried to convince me otherwise, but I made it clear to her that my mind was made up. I haven't really dated anyone seriously, I've just been trying to make the most of my time off work. I'm currently on a relaxation trip. I decided to utilize my time and have as much fun as possible before going back to the crazy life of an artist. What a life! It's been quite the experience. I'll always remember what happened, but I'm grateful it all happened when it did. I've learned that even when things are bad, it's better to move on quickly and move on. That's it for now, guys. I'm going to enjoy my trip and hopefully meet someone special.